Okay, so we will do this kind of interview talk by going over each of these 5 topics. They're kind of like questions, but more so to guide us through our conversation about the video you watched of the lesson I gave, which was a phonics lesson for first grade. The first topic is based on your analysis of student learning evidence. Establish what has been learned and by whom, what has not been learned and by whom, and who needs additional support to meet the standard. What have you learned about our students, learning characteristics that you did not realize previously? So you saw my learning map and kind of went over it and read it, so you know the standard that I was focused on. And my lesson was geared towards teaching the kids about recognizing the double O sound in phonics and separating and acknowledging that that sound is different than the short double O sound, even though the spelling pattern is the same where there's 2 O's. And also, I guess, practicing pronouncing these words. We did a lot of like vocalization during the reading, where I like guided them to say words out loud and recognize that sound. Did you see that in the lesson?
Yes, I saw that. Yes, you were definitely prepared to teach the lesson for the long double O sound, and the kids were very engaged and interested in the lesson. They were attentive, well behaved. You were obviously prepared. And I like how you had them repeat the words with the double O sound and understand that they rhymed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It also says, what have you learned about our students' learning characteristics that you didn't realize previously? So I had been in this classroom before, so I kind of had an understanding of how, she runs things and how, like, her approach to teaching with these students. They seemed very, like they kind of get distracted easily and like to do things together and work together. So I was kind of focused on creating a lesson that felt like a group activity, even from the reading to the activity itself. The kids were engaged with each other even when they were working on their individual,
Right,
activity.
and that's important. Collaboration is important as they get older, as they do a lot of collaborative work in the upper elementary grades.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, I feel like you made a good point. Like that's important to introduce them to, at the lower grades, the beginning grades, that they're used to that. And
right, that they work together in groups. You could have even partnered them up.
Yeah, so
work as partners.
So that's something that I mentioned in my reflection later, that there was a child that she actually really struggles with his ADHD. His focusing skills are like really low, and he actually falls asleep in class. And he has like a not very good support at home. They let him stay up really late, so when he gets to school, he is like dozing off. And I knew about that. I feel like if we just want to jump to what I can improve on, like being thinking just about each kid individually, I would have more of a plan to keep him engaged, and I probably would do that by having him partner up with somebody, and I kind of maybe like stopping during the reading and saying like, with your partner, like discuss this, or you know what I mean, just to keep him like engaged
that's
with someone.
Unless you know the classroom.
Yeah.
You are the classroom teacher.
Yeah.
And you've got to know each kid individually and who
right.
would work well with him and what would work well with him.
Right.
So yeah. I agree with that.
And even like he could have even done his assignment with somebody else, because I think that he does have an IEP and he really like struggles academically too, like reading and writing. So doing it, like coming up with that double O title with somebody else would, one, keep him awake, and two, he's learning from another kid. That would be, obviously you would pick someone who is above, proficient. So, okay, so I highlighted, I wanted to ask you, for EL students, and you can maybe use some examples too in your class, how do you approach like, phonics and literacy with students that would really struggle with something like this?
I think in your lesson, what you could have done is, if you have EL students, is laid out picture cards.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
as you put the word up on the poster board, they would have to go and pick out the picture that went with that word.
Okay. Yeah, because we had a lot of, when we were coming up with the list, we were coming up with a lot of, and it was fun because the words were so random and silly, like raccoon and igloo and stuff. But like EL kids, they would be, I'm sure, very confused. Like,
right.
I don't recognize all of these words,
right.
And they're not gonna remember each one we go through because there was like 15 to 20 words on the paper. So yeah, that actually, if I was prepared to know what words,
right.
most of them, then I could do that. Yeah, that's a good
right.
idea.
That would have to be very guided.
Yeah.
And you just stuck to words that they knew. But it's good for EL kids to see different words that they've never seen before.
Yeah.
And then see a picture of it, and then that just kind of clicks. Oh, so that's what that is.
Yeah.
Because in their first language, they know what it is.
Yeah. Right.
So
and so it's kind of like it's like an extra. You're giving them specifically something a little extra in the lesson, like they're progressing. Okay, so the second topic is formulate how effective your instructional design was based on your planning and teaching as evidenced by data collected on students' process and products of learning. So I kind of already went over this, like before. I had been in the classroom before, and I also talked to Mrs. Gregg about her students, and so her biggest concern about me being there was the kid who falls asleep often, and then the two English language learners, and then she had like some behavioral, but she didn't really go into that. But I think, like we said, if I had a more detailed like outline of each kid, my instruction would have been more effective. I mean, right?
Well, yeah, you could have planned accordingly to their issues, and you didn't have all that information, and you haven't worked with them, so you weren't really sure. So it was more just whole group.
Yeah.
Thinking that they would all be well behaved and focused. Well, that's not the real world.
And this this actually.
But little things like for classroom management, if you teach your kids when calling for quiet attention, sometimes you can say class, class, and they respond by saying yes, yes, and that means everybody's eyes forward and quiet.
Yeah.
So it's just a signal for quiet attention. If you lose their focus.
Yeah. So I see like this question kind of, I guess, is more talking about how do I know that my instruction was successful, and then at the end of the video you saw that I included a slideshow of pictures I took of their work from the activity, and they actually surprised me. I thought that they might struggle coming up with a title, and some of the kids, I said, you must have 2 long double O words in your title, and you have to come up, you obviously, some of the questions were like, well, do we have to come up with other words to make the title make sense? And I said, yes, you have to, cite words, just piece it together and stuff. And a lot of kids, they were even doing 3 long double O words in their title.
I saw that.
So they really did understand the instructions. So I feel like I was really clear about what I wanted. And then they also probably for 5 minutes asked a lot of questions about the assignment, so that showed me that they were